Welcome back to Speak English Podcast. I'm David, and as always, I'm here with Sarah to bring you another great episode to help you practice and improve your English fluency.
That's right, David. And today, we're diving into one of the most powerful techniques for learning English naturally, shadowing. If you want to speak more confidently and sound more like a native speaker, you'll love this method.
Absolutely. And here's the best part. We're sharing 7 incredible tips to make shadowing more effective and enjoyable for you.
These tips will help you get better results, avoid common mistakes, and stay motivated while practicing. So, make sure to listen until the end.
Trust me, you don't want to miss this, especially tip number 6. That's my favorite one, and I'll tell you why when we get there.
Sounds exciting. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode. Now, let's jump into our first tip, choosing the right material for shadowing.
And of course, we've got 7 amazing tips that will make your practice more effective. But before we jump in, I want to remind you to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our future episodes. Now, let's start with the first tip. Choosing the right material for shadowing.
That's right. Choosing the right material is the foundation of any successful language learning journey. You see, when you're practicing shadowing, it's crucial to have clear and easy-to-follow audio or video content. If the material you're using is too fast, too complicated, or unclear, you're going to find it difficult to replicate the pronunciation and rhythm of native speakers.
Absolutely, Sarah. And here's something to keep in mind. You want to start with materials that are simple and easy to understand. For example, beginner-level podcasts, videos, or audiobooks are great for starting out. The goal is to get used to hearing the language and practicing your shadowing in a way that feels achievable. Once you feel comfortable with simpler material, you can gradually increase the difficulty.
Exactly. It's all about progression. Don't jump into advanced content right away, or you'll risk getting discouraged. A good strategy is to choose something that's just a little bit above your current level. This way, you're constantly challenging yourself, but not in a way that feels overwhelming.
Right. And when I say clear material, I mean audio that is crisp and easy to distinguish. Native speakers with good pronunciation are essential for shadowing. This clarity will help you to mimic not just the words, but also the subtle nuances like tone, rhythm, and stress patterns in the language. If you're listening to a speaker with a strong accent or unclear speech, it might be harder to pick up on these important elements.
And don't forget that the type of material is also important. Ideally, you should choose content that matches your personal interests. Whether it's news podcasts, TED Talks, or even interviews with native speakers, finding material that you enjoy will keep you motivated. If you like what you're listening to, you'll want to come back to it every day, making your practice consistent.
Absolutely. Plus, when you enjoy the material, it's easier to stay engaged, which is key to building your listening skills. So, remember to pick content that both suits your level and interests you. If you love what you're listening to, shadowing won't feel like a chore. Instead, it'll feel like a fun challenge.
That's a great point, David. And don't forget to vary your content over time. As your skills improve, try switching to different types of content. For example, after you're comfortable with podcasts, you can try watching YouTube videos or even listening to audiobooks in English. The more varied your material, the more you'll learn, and the easier it will be to understand English in different contexts.
And that's why I always recommend starting simple and building your way up. Whether it's through podcasts, audiobooks, or YouTube videos, always choose something that you can understand and that challenges you just enough. This is the key to making shadowing a successful part of your English learning routine.
Absolutely. And if you're not sure where to start, take a look at some beginner-friendly podcasts or YouTube channels that cater to English learners. There's a lot of free content out there that's designed to help you improve your language skills step by step.
So, to recap, choose clear, easy-to-follow material at your current level. But don't be afraid to challenge yourself a little bit. The clearer the speaker, the better your shadowing practice will be. And make sure to keep the material interesting to keep you motivated. Now that we've chosen the right material, let's move on to tip number 2, breaking down the content into smaller chunks. This step is essential for making shadowing more effective. Instead of trying to repeat long sentences or entire paragraphs all at once, start by dividing them into smaller, more manageable pieces. Focus on one short phrase at a time.
Exactly, David. By working with smaller sections, you'll be able to focus on accuracy and details, like pronunciation and rhythm. It's easy to get overwhelmed when you try to repeat everything at once, but when you isolate parts, it becomes much easier to master each section thoroughly before moving on.
That's right, Sarah. When you focus on smaller chunks, you also give yourself the chance to internalize the material more effectively. Each small segment allows you to mimic the original speaker more accurately, including their tone, stress, and rhythm. Over time, it'll feel more natural as you start to put the pieces together.
And don't forget to repeat these chunks several times before moving forward. It's important to make each small section feel natural before progressing. Once you've mastered one chunk, move on to the next and repeat the process. This will help you build up your shadowing skills gradually and steadily.
Now, let's move on to tip number 3, focusing on pronunciation and rhythm. This is a key element of shadowing, as it's not just about repeating words, but also about imitating the tone, pitch, and stress of the speaker. Try to match the speaker's intonation and pace as closely as possible.
Absolutely, David. Think of it like acting. You're not just repeating what they say, you're trying to embody the speaker's energy and rhythm. The way they say a sentence with emphasis on certain words or a shift in their voice is what you want to focus on. This will help you sound more natural and fluent.
Yes, Sarah. And this is where shadowing becomes a fun challenge. You're not just learning the words, but also the music of the language. Try to imagine yourself in the same situation as the speaker, mimicking how they express emotions or emphasize certain ideas. It helps you get a deeper understanding of the language's flow.
Exactly, David. And when you focus on rhythm, you're also training your ear. You'll start recognizing patterns in the language, like where the natural pauses are or how the speaker flows from one sentence to the next. This makes it easier to speak more fluidly and with better understanding of the language's natural rhythm.
Now, let's move on to tip number 4, recording your voice and comparing it to the original audio. This step is incredibly important because it allows you to assess your own progress and pinpoint areas where you can improve. When you listen to yourself, try to focus on specific details like pronunciation, rhythm, and stress.
That's right, David. By recording yourself, you get a clearer idea of how close you are to sounding like the original speaker. It can be eye-opening to hear the differences, but that's how you can make adjustments and get better over time. Don't be discouraged if you don't sound perfect right away. It's all part of the learning process.
Exactly, Sarah. After you've recorded yourself, compare it with the original audio. Pay attention to the way the speaker emphasizes certain words, the pauses, and the overall flow. You'll start noticing areas where you need to work harder to match their style, and this will guide your practice.
Yes, David. And remember that this is all about consistency. Don't expect perfection after just 1 or 2 tries. The more you practice and compare, the more you'll fine-tune your pronunciation and rhythm. Keep pushing yourself and celebrating the small improvements along the way.
Now, let's move to tip number 5, practicing consistently. This is one of the most important factors for improvement. It's better to practice for 10 to 15 minutes every day than to do long sessions once a week. The key is regularity. Consistency builds muscle memory and helps you retain what you've learned.
Absolutely, David. Short daily practices are much more effective than long, irregular sessions. When you practice every day, your brain gets used to the rhythm of the language, and it starts becoming more natural for you to speak. Even just a few minutes a day can lead to significant progress over time.
That's a great point, Sarah. Another thing to consider is that short sessions also keep you focused. It's easier to concentrate for 10 to 15 minutes, and that makes the learning experience more efficient. You can gradually add more time as you get more comfortable.
Exactly, David. And don't forget, consistency also helps with motivation. As you see improvement day after day, you'll stay encouraged to keep going. So make it a habit. And remember, a little effort each day will take you a long way.
Now, let's dive into tip number 6, using different accents. It's essential to expose yourself to various English accents, such as American, British, and Australian. This helps you understand the diversity of the language and improves your overall listening skills. Plus, it makes you more adaptable when encountering different speakers.
That's so true, David. Each accent has its unique characteristics, and by practicing with various ones, you'll gain a broader understanding of English. It's not only about pronunciation, but also about being able to catch different speech patterns and tones.
Exactly, Sarah. And another great benefit is that it helps with your confidence. The more accents you're exposed to, the less likely you'll be thrown off by a speaker with a different style. You'll start to feel more comfortable in real-life situations.
Definitely. And don't worry if you struggle at first. It's all part of the process. Just keep practicing with different accents, and soon enough, you'll notice how much easier it becomes to understand English, no matter where it's spoken.
Now, we've reached the final tip. Tip number 7. Challenge yourself to speak without reading. This is a powerful way to improve your fluency and strengthen your muscle memory. Once you've repeated the sentences several times and feel comfortable with them, try speaking without looking at the text. This will push you to rely more on your memory and improve your overall speaking skills.
That's a great tip, David. It's not just about repeating what you hear, but about internalizing the sentences and speaking naturally. At first, it might be tough, but that's when you know you're making progress.
Exactly, Sarah. The more you challenge yourself to speak without reading, the more you'll improve your ability to think in English. This will make a huge difference when you're having real conversations.
And remember, it's okay to make mistakes along the way. The goal is to keep improving and to be able to speak with more confidence. Keep practicing, and soon you'll notice how much easier it gets to speak fluently without the need to look at the text.
All right, to wrap things up, let's quickly recap what we've covered today. We started with the importance of choosing the right material. Then we talked about breaking the content into smaller chunks to make practice more manageable. After that, we focused on pronunciation, rhythm, and the need to practice consistently.
Exactly. We also discussed the value of recording yourself and comparing your voice with the original, as well as the importance of experimenting with different accents. And of course, we can't forget the power of challenging yourself to speak without reading the text. These tips are designed to make your shadowing practice more effective and help you improve faster.
And as we mentioned earlier, one of the best ways to improve your English through shadowing is by being consistent. Dedicate at least 10 to 15 minutes a day, and you'll notice progress before you know it. It's about building habits that help you speak more naturally and confidently.
Absolutely, David. Shadowing isn't just about repeating words. It's about engaging with the language in a way that makes it feel more natural. Keep practicing, and over time, you'll see your speaking skills improve significantly.
Now, before we finish today's episode, Remember to subscribe to the Speak English podcast so you never miss an episode. If you enjoyed today's tips, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and share this episode with friends who might also benefit from it.
Yes, please subscribe and let us know in the comments if you have any questions or want to share your own shadowing tips. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.